I did what I had to do to survive.
What an imbecile!
Hi everyone, Portia here, and today we're going to be talking about The Hunger Games Catching Fire. Not again! We just talked about one of those movies! Well, Wizard, we're going to have to finish the series. Series? Yeah, we only have like 3 more, including this one. What? Next time, I'm picking the movie. Just make sure to have your recap ready by the time I'm done. Okay everyone, let's strap in, because this is going to be a wild ride. So this one picks up, like, right after the first one did. So now that Peeta and Katniss won, and they're allowed to go back to their districts and their families, although it's somewhat questionable if Peeta would actually want to go back to his family, but, like, I digress. Anyway, back in District 12, somebody's a little grumpy concerning a certain incident that happened in the games.
Gale, it was an act.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I did what I had to do to survive.
What an imbecile!
Gale over here making stupid decisions. There's probably cameras on every street. Then that cat's gonna be out of the bag, and everyone's gonna find out about the fake love story with Peeta. That's like, this is ridiculous. He should know that this would put everyone in danger because of her fake story. Like, yikes! Yikes! Yikes. From now on, like, no PDAs over here. Thank you. Okay, so now they have to go on tour of, like, the whole country so then they can talk about the greatness of the capital and what's not. And, like, so there's obviously, like, a whole reunion where she meets up with Hamish and Peeta and stuff again.
Would you like some bread, Katniss?
No, I ate at the hop, but thank you.
You have a lot of warming up to do before showtime.
And for some reason, she's just being super cold towards Peeta. I'm not exactly sure why. Like, Katniss, he's just trying to give you some bread. Like, he slaved away with that for hours. Jeez. So, after this rather chilly reunion, President Snow demands an audience with Katniss.
People viewed your little trick with the berries as an act of defiance. It can lead to revolution.
What do I need to do?
When you and Peeta are on tour, you need to be prepared to end it all in love. You think you can manage that?
I'll convince them.
Do convince me, for the sake of your loved ones.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful.
I knew it. I knew it. Dum-Dum Gale wreaking havoc with his presumptuous PDAs. Like, now everyone is in danger. So now Katniss is going to have to pretend to be even more infatuated with Peeta, which is going to make a certain somebody even more infuriated. Like, great going. I'm sure that's just what you wanted. I just hate Gale so much. Like, it's ridiculous. Honestly, I'm slightly concerned with the amount of hatred I harbor for this character. Also, I hate to be that one person who just gushes all over a character in the movie. Actually, no, I'm not. Peeta's amazing. This scene, he gets like 1 trillion points because he apparently makes cookies.
Did your mother make these?
Peeta.
And even President Snow likes them, so. Best character ever in existence. Well, except for you guys, of course.
Smiles for the camera in 3, 2,
There she is, Katniss 17, the girl on fire. And there he is, Peeta Millard, the baker's boy.
That's kind of insulting. It's like, greatness over here. And then like, oh yeah, there's this lame guy over here too, in case anyone cares. Like, don't be doing Peeta dirty like that, Dr. Oakstein. So after this, they have to officially go on the tour, and Katniss is perturbed.
All you need to do is give a few speeches, wave to the crowds, and enjoy your time in the spotlight. You've earned it by killing people.
And this kind of brings to the forefront the idea that, like, they would have all this PTSD, because obviously you would after going through all that stuff and, like, having to kill people and stuff, and as well as, like, having, like, survivor's guilt, which is also obviously would be a big thing if you actually had to live through that. Which I think it's a good thing that they put a lot of instances of her suffering from, like, survivor's guilt and PTSD throughout the movie. Like, this isn't the only time. Like, it's kind of sprinkled in as you go along. And I think it's just works really well by making it A little bit more realistic for one thing, and also kind of just adding some more character development and character depth and things like that. So I actually really appreciate that.
I know it's not fair of me to hold you to things you said in the games, but I can't go on acting for the cameras and then just ignoring each other in real life. So if you can stop looking at me like I'm wounded, then I can quit acting like it, and then maybe we have a shot at being friends.
Also, I would like to point out that Peeta feels so bad about Katniss having to pretend to be in love with him. Like, he knows how she feels about Gale. I mean, he's a better person than me. Let me tell you, if I was in this movie, I'd just be like, why do you even like that awful Gale over the obviously superior choice? Actually, I'm not even in the movie and I'm saying that. Oh well, wait.
Can someone please tell me what I was talking about?
Oh yes, yeah, Victory Tour. Going on the thing. Also during the tour, we get to see a lot more of like how the games affected Katniss and stuff, and how like she just has issues.
It's just a dream.
Okay. I get him too.
Peeta, will you stay with me?
Yeah, always.
Something that I think is really interesting about the scene is that, like, Katniss views Peeta as safe. She knows that he is, like, has her best interest at heart and she can trust him fully with, like, basically anything. And it's really just so simple. He is basically just like, you need me? I'm here when you want me to be here. I will not be here when you don't want me to be here. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. And it's just that simple. Whereas Gale's this whole catastrophe of ridiculous whatevers and like pressurings of this and that and the other thing, making a whole competition out of it. She's always walking on eggshells around Gale, so he's not like safe like Peeta is. And I think that's kind of why she views Peeta as less volatile, basically, if that makes any sense. Okay, anyway, I was pontificating enough. We'll carry on. So while they're on tour, you start seeing like signs of rebellion and stuff, and like the people are starting to use like the Mockingjay as like a rebellious symbol, and like they're starting to like crack down on things a little bit more and all that kind of stuff. And so with that all that going on, Snow is starting to get concerned.
Your hair looks lovely, darling. When did you start wearing it like that?
Everyone at school wears it like this now, Grandpa.
So they finally get to the Capitol, and then they have to go to a party where they have drinks to make you like throw up so you can gorge yourself, which by the way was a real thing in ancient Rome. Hey, what can I say? My part-time hobby is reading Roman history. You don't want to get me started on the Punic Wars. Trust me. Also, I have no idea why, but for whatever reason, what Peeta says here is just hysterical.
It makes you sick, so you can go on eating.
I think it's time for a dance.
I don't know, the way he says it or something just sounds really funny, and I have no idea why. And then they meet Chris Pine. Actually, he's not Chris Pine. When I first saw this movie, I was like, this guy has to be a relative of his. They have, like, the same face. See? I'm not crazy. Right? Right? So now their tour is officially over, and they get to go home, and oh, hurrah, Gale's back. Yippee. But the Capitol's mad about whatever they're mad about, the usual things, and Gale gets in trouble for helping someone?
It's Gale.
Get him here.
That's gonna be the most hilarious moment in the entire movie. No, the entire series. Everyone's just like, panicking, and Hamish is over here like, let me just get some of that. Hamish is just about as concerned as I am in this scene. And you'll never guess who volunteers to stay with Gale so Katniss can just go rest and stuff. Go ahead, guess. Oh, you'll never guess. The Cookie Man himself. I don't know, man. I think I'd be like, bye. But anyway. So now President Snow has decided to punish all the victors by having this year's Hunger Games collect the tributes from the victors. And Katniss is like, and cries and stuff. And Hamish is just like, makes a very reasonable statement, as usual.
Peeta was here 45 minutes ago begging to save your life, and you only just now show up. You could live 100 lifetimes and never deserve that boy.
And I couldn't agree more. Like, he has all the same traumas from the games, but he's out here being concerned about Katniss' nerves of steel, I'll tell you what. Superman ain't got nothing on about him. On a more serious note, he also talks about like how nobody actually wins the games, they just survive the games, which kind of like calls back to the first movie, kind of references what Peeta was concerned about. He didn't want the games to change him because if you win, we're going to have to do some bad things in order to win. So, Hamish and Katniss make a little deal where Hamish will volunteer for Peeta if Peeta is selected. And since Katniss is the only, like, woman victor from 12, she's just kind of stuck. So, remember that whole parade thing from the first one? So they have to do that all over again. And we're introduced to Finnick O'Dare, who seems a bit full of himself, but trust me, he's the hero of the movie.
Any secret's worth my time.
Everybody always seems to know my secrets before I know them myself.
Anyway, so they do all the interviews and training, and once again, Peeta decides to crash national television. Like, he really just likes crashing TV interviews.
You know, Katniss and I, we've been luckier than most. I wouldn't have any regrets at all if it weren't for the baby.
I am so brilliant.
Well, cunning as I admit, it seems rather dubious that a guy who's okay with murdering children in horrific games is going to have that big of an issue with that. I mean, what's one more, right? Like, although it is actually a good tactic to weaponize the public's sympathy against the establishment to get Katniss out of the games, or maybe even get it canceled altogether. Another thing that is interesting to think about is how the people are so okay with the Hunger Games themselves, but then once it comes up to like their favorite celebrity's alleged child, and by alleged I mean because Peeta made it up, that they aren't all about that. They're just like, oh no! It's like, talk about inconsistent. And also, two things. Remember how infuriated Katniss was about the whole crush thing from the first one? Like, just think if back then Katniss was reacting to this situation. She'd be so steamed. And also, in the scene where she's like,
Everybody always seems to know my secrets before I know them myself.
And Peeta's over here like, well, I'm definitely about to top that list. She's just like, yep, he totally knew about that before I did. Definitely not conspicuous. So, as predicted by my brilliant mind, Snow does not give two flying leaps about no baby. Like, you know how those cars that have those baby on board stickers? He would probably just, like, deliberately cause a full-on collision just because it had the sticker on it. So, now it's time for the games.
Coming to the tree, they strung up a man, they say who murdered 3.
So Peeta and Katniss decide to team up with Finnick and Mags, who's the sweet little old lady who volunteered for another tribute, Annie, who's actually Finnick's girlfriend. So they're walking around the jungle, just sort of evading the other teams.
Peeta? He's not breathing! He's not breathing!
Don't do this to me, movie.
Please. Peeta. Oh my god.
Be careful, there's a force field up there.
Whew. See, what did I tell you? Hero of the movie. Well, him and Mags.
It's okay.
And look at that. Peeta's the one who almost died, and he's sitting here calming Katniss down. Chew on that, gal. Also, we needed Finnick appreciation party. Nobody even said thank you. Like, what's up with that? But then Poison Fog rolls in and kills Mags, and the three team up with Joanna and Beetee and this other woman, who I only remember as TikTok woman. That's literally what I have in my notes, so we're just gonna roll with that. Okay, so they figure out exactly what the arena is because of the TikTok woman. So it actually works like a clock, where each hour a new calamity happens until the hour's up. It's actually a super cool idea. I love it. It's so much more fascinating than the first arena. Like, it's more interesting, there's more going on. Anyway, so Beetee, who's the, like, smart guy, figures out that they can channel lightning, so then they'll be able to, like, electrocute the rest of the tributes. So they all decide to take a break on the beach, as one does.
If you die, and I live, I'd have nothing. It's different for you. Your family needs you. You have to live. For them.
What about you?
Nobody needs me.
That's so freaking sad and amazing at the same time. Like, Peeta, who's always felt neglected and has gone through intense emotional trauma, is able to wade through all of that and be fully concerned and completely selfless for her. And, like, while Gale's over here like, I peeved because you went to protect everyone important you were pretending to like this guy. And Peeta's like, I know that your family and Gale are important to you, and you need to stay alive for them, because they'd all be devastated if you died, and you cannot give up. You need to do this for them. And he does not include himself in any of this, I might add. That just speaks volumes. Also, that bogus about nobody needs Peeta. The audience needs Peeta. This movie needs Peeta. Like, what a ridiculous line. He can just get that thought out of his head. So, Katniss ends up shooting the electrically charged wire into, like, the big force fieldy thing that surrounds the whole arena. And, like, the whole thing gets, like, kind of half destroyed. And then she's, like, airlifted out. But Peeta's not, because they got separated. And then she figures out that the new head game master, like that Chris Pine looking guy, that guy is actually in a rebellion, and Hamish knew about it the whole time. Also, this line is hilarious.
You in a syringe against the Capitol. See, this is why no one lets you make the plans.
So it ends on a cliffhanger where Peeta is captured, and she has now joined the rebellion. Peeta goes from, like, the best character in the movie in the first film to, like, super tier in Catching Fire. Every time you're like, Peeta couldn't possibly become more compassionate and caring than he already is, right? The movie just goes, give me a sec, hold my cookies. And he's one of the only characters I've seen in a film who actually has emotional intelligence. He's very conscious of other people's struggles, but remains very level-headed in extreme situations. Just as a reminder here, Peeta went through the exact same amount of trauma Katniss did, but he's out here being able to deal with his own struggles while managing to be Katniss's, like, support. If that's not the ultimate strength of a human, I don't know what is. I mean, at this point, he's just gone way up there on my favorite character list. Anyway, aside from that, I actually really liked the movie. It ended up being my favorite in the series. And this is basically because it has the best characters and character interactions in it. Like, Peeta, Hamish, and Effie all get more screen time in this one. And we also get Finnick, who's another character I really like. And I like Katniss a little better in this one. I think that's more because I just kind of got used to her as opposed to she's actually any different. But I'm not quite sure. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. And now we get to hear Wizard's esteemed opinion. Thank you. My review is as follows.
Peeta! 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 Peeta!
And that pretty much sums up the whole movie. Well, thank you, Wizard, for your interesting overview of the film. As usual, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe, and have an awesome rest of your day.